variable as an independent variable. So let's start with this basic time series analysis. Now let's take this example first, that these days we all know that this machine learning thing is in the picture, and R software, Python software, these are in the trend. The main reason is the machine learning. This machine learning thing is not in this other softwares like we do this SPSS data. These are not designed for the machine learning. These new softwares are Python. They are designed for the machine learning things, and that's the one reason that now most of the institutions are shifting towards R and Python. So rather than using these traditional softwares, they are using these new softwares. And like R is it's a free outsource, so no need to pay. So that might be one another reason to use these softwares. So let's take one case of time series. Why we use time series? Like we all know that this, whenever you put a destination in your Google Map, it show you time and the traffic conditions. So this is one example of how, based upon the time variables and using machine learning, they try to predict the times and how much it takes from one destination to another destination. Similarly, if you take this online orders like Zomato or even the Amazon, they show you that it will deliver on after 3 days or 4 days, and you can track during the process where your product is reached. So these forecasting are based upon this information through the time they capture, and then they put it in models like in the machine learning process, and where they made a models, then based upon the models they predict these outcomes, which generally we use or we can see from our mobile phones. In this Google Map, this article is really interesting, that how this machine learning is predicting these traffic routes. And the important thing is here is that after Corona, the traffic conditions got changed in the countries. You can just go through this article, and so based this particular model is based upon the historical data, that what are the traffic conditions and all in that particular area. So due to this Corona, the traffic condition got changed. So they changed their model to predict this, because now the historical data is not as reliable as earlier it was. So they changed this particular model, and then again, so that's the reason that this predictions vary from time to time and day to day. Means they change these models and they try to give more accurate as possible these predictions. Similarly, weather forecast, every day we will see that, and especially during the monsoons in here in India and in winters in the northern Himalayan part, there these informations are crucial. For farmers, it's crucial, especially during the harvesting and in the starting of when they burn these seeds in their fields. At that time, it's important that is it going to rain today or day after tomorrow. So forecasting is everywhere, from individual perspective to government perspective. Like government forecast about the growth rates that we always study in the newspapers, IMF forecast, World Bank forecast, big credit agencies forecast, RBI forecast, finance ministry forecast. Means every time this GDP is in the picture, like everyone try to forecast that, okay, this might be the figures, because other important economic factors are always related to GDP variable. Similarly, if we look upon the company's point of view, like now it's a festive season, the Dussehra and Diwali. So many of the companies generally they introduce new products nearby this time period in India, especially the Indian products, because they know the customers' behavior that generally they buy new things in this particular festive season. So they forecast based upon this information that. But the another thing they have to forecast that not only the time when they have to introduce new products, but with time they have to forecast about the volume and the quantity of that particular product, how much quantity they can produce. So their forecasting are crucial about their profits and incentives, their efficiency. They are linked with that particular forecast, that how accurately they are trying to forecast about the market scenarios. So that's these are the reason that these days this data analysis job not restricted to the government departments now. Every firm, multinational firm, or the firms which are in the business, they need this manpower who can forecast about the events based upon their information and their data. So that's the one reason that they need. And the second thing, that nowadays data is available, and data everywhere. It's data from mobile apps and all, they're capturing the data. So it's now they need someone to analyze those data so that they can take some meaningful conclusions from those data. So this is the that's the one reason that in econometrics, this is the one lengthy part we always study, like time series and all in details. Here I'm not going to on that particular econometric outlook, but here the idea behind this particular time series in this part 2 is that our independent variable is time. Means whatever dependent variable you have, we are trying to look upon that particular variable based upon the time, and here independent variable is the time variable. So that's the basic part I'll try to cover here in the part 2. So let's start. Okay, in this first example, then the stock market crash. Means we all know that after Corona, in the April and May, this is although this particular graph is about the 1929 recession and thereafter, but recently also it happened that although it was not like the great crash or something, but yes, prices in the stock market, there was slight short sales, means the decline in the stock market, that due to some this Corona happening. Means whenever actually these decisions are based upon the forecasting. Means whenever we investment is always about the future. So if anytime our expectation got changed, suddenly it got changed, then we behave like that. So accordingly our actions will change like that. In the stock market, these phenomena are so frequent, but it depends upon the length of those scenarios, that how much is the deep or the recession in the stock market, then how much is the bull time period, and the increasing time period. I mean, these are the things where stock markets, and there are many other this financial markets like mutual funds, they are connected with the stock market, then derivatives, futures, equities, other financial instruments, if you look upon like commodities, gold, then silver, other metals. Means here this forecasting is based upon the data and all the variables. So forecasting is everywhere, and these days it's not only on the individual levels. Although in individual level we don't put the data in software, then try to analyze about our own individual decisions. But if it's a company scenario or it's a government scenario, then we always try to make some objective analysis based upon the data, and the variables depends upon the situation we have, but we are trying to analyze. So let's start with this time series. Okay, this is just a description that why time series analysis is important. It's not only for the nations like sales, productions, investment, marketing, because our GDP growth are related to these particular investment decisions. For individuals as well, because our individual income growth depend upon all these outcomes, whatever happened in the country. So this forecasting is, and we if we have to take a decision, then that's always based upon the forecasting or expectation about the future. So even if it's not with the data and something, it's an individual decision, like one is taking this decision that how much I save for next 20 years, or how much I put in life insurance, or how much I put in the mutual funds, or how much I save in FDI. Means that's why it's an individual decision. Then again, one has to take all these circumstances and expectations about the future before doing any particular taking any particular action. Forecasting is everywhere. The only difference is that way of forecasting. If it's individual, it's just few calculations, but if it's based upon a company, then we have to look upon various factors associated with that particular scenario, and then we could try to get analyze those things. If it's a government scenario, then again it's a macroeconomic phenomena and various other connected factors depends upon the situation, and then we try to forecast based upon the models. And nowadays, as I am showing you these examples of machine learning, these things we are going to use for forecasting in coming future, and already it's got started. So the basic time series component, when we have a time as an independent variable, we divide it in a 4 parts. Means the change in the time series is we divide it in 4 parts. One is the trend, like the long-term trend. Like here in this particular upward line, we can see this is a trend that, okay, with the trend, like growth rate or something, you're saying 30, 40, 50 years growth rate, average growth rate might be a 2 point something percent. That's something like the long run trend. But it's not like that every year things will increase with the constant numbers. No, there are fluctuations, and those fluctuations might be cyclical if it's some common phenomena of 3 5 years or some 7 years. It might be seasonal, that it just up and down, and average is almost constant in the seasonal cases. It might be accidental or irregular component like this corona. I mean, suddenly everything got stopped. So previous forecasts are not correct in this particular time period because there is a sudden downfall in all the activities. So there are irregular components also. And this irregular is not something like first time it's happening. It depends upon the situation. It might be after 10 years, 20 years, or sometimes 30 or 40 years. These phenomena are also common. So we have to deal with those also. So time, the data in the time that capture all these, that include all these 4 characters: cyclical fluctuations, seasonal fluctuations, trend, and the irregular components. Let me first show you these components. Okay, just take this example. Like, for example, employment in the United States. Let's suppose the actual employment figures for year by year is this particular red line, that it's increasing, decreasing, increasing, then sudden fall, then increase, decrease. Means random, means you can say that, okay, this is a random something like increasing, decreasing, decreasing. But if we see the trend, this for all this time period, like 1941 to 53, then it is upwards sloping type, like it's increasing in these all the years. So that average increase is something we say trend, this straight line. But this increase is not constant all the years. During all the years, there are fluctuation in that, and these fluctuations we have to divide. I mean, this is the actual data, this red one. Now this data, if we looked at, it's something like upward, means in the long run it's increasing, and this straight line, if we try to put in this particular trend, then it will describe that, okay, on an average it's increasing consistently. Then within this particular raw data, if we divide this data in few cycles, 5 years or 7 years, then we can see there's cyclical fluctuations. Means it's increasing, then decreasing, again it's increasing again. But if it's increasing in the long run trend, then this bottom of this cyclical fluctuation is above than the previous bottom. Like this particular bottom is above than the previous bottom. So there are cyclical fluctuations in this raw data as well. And there might be a seasonal, that's not in this particular diagram, but that might be the case that there within a cyclical, there are seasonal fluctuations as well. Seasonal generally we divide within a year, and cyclical like 3 to 5 year or 5 to 7 year. And if it's more than that, then we say this is something like trend kind of thing. So we will go in these detail one by one. First, just try to understand that the time series data, the time variable data, it has four characters: irregular component, seasonal component, cyclical component, and trend component. Let me show you another example. Okay, let's take this particular case. Okay, this is from the data which I shared with all of you. This is NSE price from NSE Nifty price from 2000 January to this now October 2020, means approximately 20-year data. So if we see the actual data, then this actual data is something like increasing. This is the raw data, means actual data, increasing, then decreasing, again increasing, decreasing. But if you see it's long run, then it's upward sloping, right? Means this bottom is not the breakup of the previous bottom. These are above the previous bottom. So in a long run, like in the 20 years, this particular trend is upward. So there is a trend in this particular data that it's upward. But within this trend, it's not that always the points are on this particular line. They are deviations from this particular trend, and it depends upon the deviation. Sometimes this duration of these deviations is long. Sometimes it's a short duration. That depends upon the data, nature of the data. So this upward and then downward, upward, then downward, these are the cyclical fluctuations in this data. But it's not that always these are on the some constant cyclical fluctuation type of data. No, within that there are seasonality, there might be irregular, like this particular case. This is the corona case I was talking about. Sudden jump in the data. Now this is something like that's because of the irregular component. So it's not because of the cyclical thing or the because of the seasonal component, no, irregular component. So in every data, there are these 3 or 4 components. There is a trend, long-term trend. If it's a long-term data, then there is a cyclical component in that data, and there is seasonal fluctuations, and there are irregular components. Now, what these are generally, how we divide it. The trend we say the secular, the long run average, the constant part that we generally see, that this is the trend part. And the seasonal fluctuation within a year, that we say these are because of the seasonal variations. And there are due to some macroeconomic business cycle phenomena changes, like these business cycles we study: boom, then recession, then depression, then recovery, then again peak. These business cycles which we study, business cycle theories in economics. There are many business cycle theories. You are like this Ray Dalio, how economic machines work. His theory is based upon the debt and long run productivity growth base. Then we study this Samuelson, then Hicks, Carter, business cycle theories, and there are many other business cycle theories which describe this nature of economy, that why there is increase and decrease. And there are long-term cycles as well, 70, 80 years, 30 years. So it might be the change in the variation is because of the cyclical component, might be because of seasonal, and might be because of the irregular component, like we have this here, this corona incidence. So all these jointly, all these are in the actual data. Whatever time series data you have, that data capture or include all these 3 or 4 characters of the changes or variations in the data. So our for the forecasting, the target is that how we forecast these changes. It depends upon the situation, but the forecasting is that how we can predict about the seasonal variation, that how much is it due to seasonal variation, then how we forecast based upon cyclical fluctuations or about the long-term trend. This is the basic about the time series, that for forecasting we have to forecast about these changes. Okay, before moving further, any doubts so far? Is this clear that the raw data means like this one red one is the raw data here, or this particular the actual data that I shared with you, this NSC data, this is the raw data. This raw data has these four components: trend, seasonal variation, cyclical fluctuations, and irregular fluctuations. So if you have any type of data, that data, the changes in that data during the time because of these 3 or 4 characters, and about forecasting about the time series data is to forecast about these 4 characters: cyclical fluctuations, seasonal fluctuations, irregular fluctuations, and trend, so that we can take decision based upon the forecasting or the model which we develop to forecast these things. So far these components is clear, although in next 2-3 days I'll try to do calculations and forecasting and methods. We will study measures to these fluctuations one by one. There I'll try to describe it in detail: seasonal fluctuations, cyclical fluctuations, then this trend part we will do it today. But before that, is it clear that time series data include all these characters, and the job is we have to find the variation due to these changes. The better the accuracy of the forecasting method, the better we can take decision about the future. And if, let's suppose, if I tell you this example here, let's suppose your forecasting is saying that for this particular year, it might be 2011 something, that okay, the trend, on the basis of trend, the Nifty value is going to be nearby this particular figure, whatever this particular figure, 6,000 or 7,000 something. And you decided to buy this particular share. Let's suppose you are taking this decision in 2008 or 9 based upon this forecasting. But actually in that particular year, the prices was not at that particular level, that was much lower than that particular level. So your forecasting at that particular time was not correct based upon this. Let's suppose this is the line we have made with any particular regression model, and we are trying to forecast about. So these decisions are crucial. Means if you are really putting your money in the investment, and if your forecast is like this for this particular year, then actual values are not nearby your forecasted values, so you are taking this particular risk. So when you put your money in the investment, then you can't take this risk, right? So your forecasting method needs to be as accurate as possible. So these things you have to take care. So that's why this time series forecasting is so much crucial these days, especially as I'm giving examples about the weather forecasting. Means for farmers it's crucial, especially during the monsoon. If it's a heavy, then there are chances of flood in many parts of northern India, or sometimes it's heavy rainfalls in the mountain areas, and then landslides are there, heavy snowfall. So these warnings, weather department try to give that for next coming days, and based upon that individuals take decisions. So this forecasting needs to be accurate. It's not possible 100% accuracy, but error needs to be, but error means that the actual values needs to be nearby the forecasted value, then only one can take successful decisions. And these decisions are not easy, because it depends upon how you study particular variable in your hand and which method you apply to forecast about that particular decision. So this is crucial. So okay, first I hope now this seasonal, cyclical, these things is clear. So let's start with one practical example. Okay, before that, let's take one real example from the stock market. This is Dow Jones Industrial Average, means this is in the USA stock market. Okay, so this chart, this particular chart is from, I need the maximum chart. Okay, let's suppose this is the chart from 1985-86 to 2006. Let's suppose you have this particular data and you don't know any particular technique to forecast. So based upon this information, forecasting is always based upon the historical data. We take the data from the past and try to forecast about the future. So let's suppose you want to invest or not invest, means your decision is based upon your forecasting technique, and you have this particular data. So there are, if we talk in this time series components, then there is a long-term trend, right? Means on an average, this particular Dow index value is increasing. That we need to, for that, even to know that long-term constant increase, we need some long-term forecasting technique. Then, but that's not the thing always here. I mean, sometimes it's increasing, then decreasing, again increasing, decreasing. So there are cyclical fluctuations as well. And within cyclical fluctuations, there are seasonal fluctuations. Let me zoom this particular. Let's take its 5-year case. From 2016 to 2020. Now, if you look this particular data, although this particular sudden downfall is because of Corona, so that panic created in the stock market that what will happen if it's not got stopped and this lockdown take a longer time period as you from usual one, then there might be a chances that the loss will appear every. Although situations is still same as in USA and many countries, the many small firms are nearby bankrupt. Same in the India. So unemployment is at a high scale, but still the stock markets recovered after this month of June onward. So in the long run, we can say that prices are nearby the previous before the Corona, but is that an accurate picture? That I don't want to comment upon. But from the time series data perspectives, let's see, this is our data. This is a 5-year now. Again, here I can say there is some long-term trend that's upward, but then within that there are fluctuations, these cyclical fluctuations. And if I look at short-term data, like let's say 1 year, now there are these increase, decrease, increase, decrease. This is some, we can say, if we have historical data, then we have to identify, is it because of irregular, means is it something random kind of thing, or it might be because of seasonal fluctuations, like 6-year or three months seasonal cycles. So this is now, this is the same data. Like if I go this maximum that for last 20 years, 25 years, this is the same data. That means if we say this particular data, that's something in the long run it's increasing. But if we narrow down, if we see by zooming this particular data, then we can see clearly that there are seasonal fluctuations as well, and there are cyclical fluctuations with irregular component as well. Like this year, we have this Corona one. So definitely, there are many things happened in the past, like 2008 crisis, crash in the stock market in USA. So always there are some irregular components as well. So it's not easy to forecast in the time series. Like before that, we are trying to find association in the cross-sectional. Means whatever we did in the regression and correlation, that is something the cross-section at one particular time, how things are associated. That's a cross-sectional type of analysis. Here we are trying to look upon the time series set across the time. So this is not easy. Means you have to first select the time period, that this time. Now let's suppose if I try to forecast about this particular index based upon 1986 to 2006 or something. If I take this particular data and try to forecast, then the one question is that here the speed is something totally different, the growth rate. Previous in the 86 to 95, the growth rate is means much less as compared to the next time period. This particular situation is quite different. So the one thing is that can we take this time period altogether, or we have to break it down? That's the one thing you have to take it into consideration when it's a time series. Then within a time series, then the technique that are you going to forecast about the trend or the cyclical fluctuation or the seasonal? That depends on the situation. Means if it's a short run, then it's not the based upon trend you can take the decision. Then you have to based upon the either cyclical fluctuations or seasonal fluctuations. So these all things you have to keep in mind while you have a time series data. So let's go back and take examples from the data set we have, this NSC data. Okay, so first let's start with the trend. Means there are many type of trend. It's not a linear trend like here I try to make a line, this linear trend kind of thing. But long-term trend is not always the linear trend. That means the increase is with the constant speed. Means the slope remains same kind of thing. That's not always the situation. Means it depends upon the variables. For example, these days we are looking this corona data is this is I have taken influenza H1N1. Here if you can say, although this is not long term, this is a monthly data. Like for corona we have a day wise data, but let's suppose in the long run if you have this particular picture, so this is not something like the linear trend, right? That might be semi-logarithmic. And like production functions we study in economics, that those production functions are generally the total production functions, but we study is not the linear, more or less they are semi-logarithmic. So long-term trend doesn't mean that the straight line we have the linear trend. It depends nature of variable. It might be a semi-logarithmic, but theoretically it means that over the period of time the increase is with the decreasing speed, right? Means here after that particular time the increase is nearby going to be only a few with few percentages. So that is something semi-logarithmic. Then it might be a case of exponential growth, is consistently increasing with the increasing speed. It might be a logistic type of growth, or this Gompertz curve, life cycle curve, which we study. All these are type of long run growth, but that depends upon the nature of variable, that which particular situation. Now, why it is important to know this particular trend? Because let's suppose actual data is like this particular data, that it is something semi-logarithmic kind of thing, and you are trying to forecast based upon the linear trend. The maximum chance is that maximum time of these variables, your linear trend is going to be deviate from the actual values, and that forecast is not the accurate picture, or you can't take decision based upon that forecasted value. So first you have to analyze that what is the nature of your long-term trend. Means the first case I'm taking the secular trend case, then I'll come to this tomorrow, and day after tomorrow I'll try to explain the cyclical and seasonal fluctuations. First, just let's take a case of long-term trend. But before that, I hope this is clear that if you have a long-term data, then within a data, there is a long-term trend, means it's increasing or decreasing. Then within that particular trend, there are cyclical fluctuation. Within cyclical fluctuation, there are seasonal fluctuation, means the cause of change of this particular data is because of these four components. And we to forecast, we need these four components. So we need measures and methods to forecast about these four components. So first I'm starting with the trend component. And trend component is about the long run data. It's not about the short run. If you have a looking something about in the short run data, then just go with cyclical fluctuations or seasonal fluctuations or irregular, but not the trend. Trend is about the long run data. Let's take this particular example where we have this 20-year data. So this is the raw data, and within raw data, we need to identify the trend. Let's suppose this raw data is indicating that it's a increasing long-term trend, means up values are increasing on the upward side. The thing is that now which trend will fit this particular, means what type of trend is it? Is it a semi-logarithmic? And there are many forms of trend, but that's the thing about the forecasting that we have to. That's why many times we say the forecasting is really not possible. That's maybe the reason that many times our decisions got wrong, because forecasting techniques are not absolute, and that depends upon the data and variables. Yeah, that's different level. Na? Semi-logarithmic is not the linear like a straight line case. The thing here is about the change in the slope. Is it a constant, means the increase is with the same constant speed, or is it increasing, decreasing, or it's changing, means that's about the functions, long run functions. So those of you study mathematics in higher classes after +2, there is a functions and relations in detail, and in the functions you study various type of functions. So to fit a function in any particular long-term data, the knowledge about those functions is very crucial. That's one limitation of us like economic students, because we are not from the mathematics background, and that is required about the forecasting. So actually we don't know by looking the data, we can't know how to put a function, mathematical function, which can fix on that particular data and give a better picture. Generally we apply this linear trend or less, or this ARIMA. There are many models now. We have moving average models, autoregressive moving averages, this ARMA models, means. But these are the few models we have. There are many mathematical functions, or study mathematics in the higher classes. They know the functions that if data is of this particular nature, then this particular function is better to predict. That's where something this machine learning is working, that automatically put a better function. That's the thing about the machine learning, and that's advanced tools. But let's suppose take a case without the machine learning, then we need to know that which mathematical function give better forecasting about this particular trend. Mathematically, how would we differentiate? Yeah, Divya is saying this is a concave case, means slope, the rate of change is decreasing, might be a rate of change is increasing, slope is increasing. These are the two basic functions. But let's suppose we are talking about this is the case of long term, right? So it is not that within a 3 or 4, after 4 time periods, it suddenly drop down and then again. That's not about the long term trend. So in a long term, either it's a straight line case, might be this one, might be this particular curve, then it might be a exponential case, might be a logistic growth rate, initially increasing, like then we study this 3 production stages, increase with the increasing speed, then after this particular point, increase with the decreasing speed. It might be this particular case. Let's take case of population growth rate in the 1950 onward. In the north, this north is about the developed countries where the population growth rates are more or less constant, 1950 onward. But in the developing countries, it's consistently increasing. Now, this increase is exponential or is it a logistic? Is that we have to, for better picturization, let's suppose our target is to picturize about the 2050 or 2060, because all the policy makings, like in this particular this year, the economic survey, there is a chapter about this demographic transition, and based upon that, they try to identify that after 2040 we need few policies about the old age, because now in coming years the average age of Indian individuals is going to be increased, and we need policies based upon the old age scenario when we have a maximum individuals in old age. So planning is needed for that. Let's suppose there is another scenario where these companies or this urban ministry, that how much houses we need in coming years, means it might be any scenario. Then first you have to see that what might be a situation after 10 and 20 and 30 years. For that, you have to look upon the past data. Then you have to find the long-term trend. And to find the long-term trend, you need a mathematical function which will give better picture of your actual data. That's where this modeling things come in the picture, that how we make our models and how we forecast. That's where this mathematical function things is crucial, that which function is better for any particular data set. So that depends upon the mathematical, but generally from the economics perspective, as we were saying, that concave function, convex function, these generally we study. Simple exponential, logistic function, or this compound curve. Then this is the population growth rate I have taken. If we want to put a check on migration, maybe old people can be taken care of to some extent. Yeah, true, Divya. Means there are, I'm just giving the example. There are many issues with the population, means those who are of you are from this demographic field or social demographers. There are many other issues with the population growth rate, means many implications, not only about the economist, for the sociologist, anthropology point of view, the political dimensions, the planning, like the urbanization, the cities, means we are like in India, earlier we announced the smart cities, although that project is so far it's not working. But these projections are based upon the future needs, and for that we need the forecasting. Here I'm just trying to put this point that for the long run, first thing is based upon the scenario of whatever data you have, variable you have. First important thing is about the forecasting, that you have to find the mathematical function which will give better picturization of your data. Means is it not the case always that we have this secular trend, this particular case, in this one, the linear trend we have, it's not going to be always the case. It might be like this one. Again, some another curve is required. It's not a linear trend always be here. This particular case, or here, it's again not a linear trend. So even in the long run, there are few long run trends. Before forecasting, applying any measure or method, first we have to identify which method is appropriate for that particular data set. Generally, we study this OLS, linear, these techniques, moving average method, because generally we use these techniques. But if I give you a real example like the stock market and all, their traders are not only using these techniques. Means it's not only the algorithms now they have in the stock market and the big companies where they have really big investments they have. But besides that, now they're experimenting with the new functions and new data sets. Means their job is to find a better function or better model for that particular data set, because if they succeed in this particular target, then only they can earn better in the stock market. And in the stock market, as we know, the derivative market or the foreign currency market, forex market, these are the biggest markets of the world, where there are billions and trillions trades every day. So they try to use as maximum as information, and here mathematical functions and these econometric functions, machine learning, all these come in real world, and they try to use as maximum of them. So simply, if you have this particular variable in economic analysis or any other domain you have, and that's where you are trying to look upon across the time, then also it's the same applicable to you. Before applying any technique, first just try to identify which particular function is appropriate for my particular data set. Before jumping for anything, first do this hit and trial, means trying to look upon the alternative functions and then try to see which one is giving better picture about your data. That function you have to use. And this is something modeling, which it's not easy. Even I'm not a mathematics student, I don't know all the functions, only 3 or 4 which I have tried, but this is required for the forecasting. Otherwise forecasting is not possible. Then okay, this example we did Dow Jones. Then let's take another example. Here again long-term trend, simple linear trend is not applicable, because after a certain point there is a saturation level. So maybe this logistic function we can apply, or semi-logarithmic function. So these are the scenarios. It depends upon the situation. Like here in this example, the inevitable and eventual retardation of the growth of individual industry is influenced by manufacturer. This is just a case of industries that we study these production functions, that why these 3 scales means economics. In microeconomics we study this reason for returns to factor and returns to scale in 3 different stages. So this theoretical framework in the background is very important. Means let's suppose you found some method like logistic function or something for this particular data, which is giving more or less better picture about your data. The thing is next how you explain that phenomena, like this concave and convex as the way is given. Like if it's a case of concave, then what is the reason for this nature? That comes from the theoretical explanation. Like in the industries, there might be due to a returns to factor thing, that it's always it can't be increased. There are limitations to that. It's economies of scale and diseconomies of scale that we study. Similarly, we need explanations for those phenomena. It's not that okay, math, because forecasting is one thing, that you put a function, mathematical function, and you found a function, but another thing, that implication of that and explanation for that function, that only come from your theoretical knowledge about that particular variable, that why that phenomena is there. If like this H1N1 influenza, or you can take this corona, like everyone is waiting when this particular curve is going reach saturation level, and these things, like the data we know, but why in theoretically why it's happening is after a certain stage the increase of the new cases is less than the previous, means at certain after a certain level. So what is the theory behind that? That's more important to take decisions or implications. That okay, like currently every country is taking this decision, like India, like unlockdown, first unlockdown, second unlockdown, third unlockdown. Means if we know that okay, we reach this particular stage now, new cases are not going to increase from this particular level, then okay, we can start unlockdown. Means that's the real decision we are taking. But the thing is, it's not from the data, we need this from the actual picture. Why this is happening? Is it the case that we have a vaccination, that's why although in this time there is no vaccination, right? So why after a certain stage this pandemics have this particular cycle that they won't increase with that particular speed? Or the another simple explanation is that सबको हो चुका है, so अब और नए कितने लोगों को होगा? But again, that's not the, again, like now festival season is in India. Now Dussehra, Diwali, so definitely so much movement is going to on. Means uh, in the March, 10th March, when 23rd or 22 March the lockdown start. Before that, on the 10th March, the Holi was there, Holi festival. That was the one thing that where we missed this, and due to that, we bear these consequences. That in the Holi, we didn't take any action, and with the Holi, after Holi, it got spread. Maybe there are chances that now the Dussehra is here and Diwali is in coming days. Might be chance that number of cases will increase. But now how government take a decision? Means is it government sure that it's not going to be the scenario? So let's unlock down, withdraw all the restrictions. So there are real time situations, right? Means this is not the time series that it's about only to research or all thing. It's a real time scenario. And same is like with the corona case. So the theory is required, means okay, data is okay, function is okay, but the explanation needs from the theoretical, logical, that depends upon the situation, and that explanation is the main thing about this forecasting. So these are the few forms of long-term trend. And there might be another, and this is something parabolic. If I take you to this last slide, if is it visible? Like this Lavanya is asking the mathematical functions. Lavanya, these are the few mathematical functions. First one, second degree curve. If it's not visible, let me give you this. I hope this is visible. Yeah, here it's visible. Second degree curve. Then this third degree curve. This is parabolic degree based. Then logarithmic situation. Then reciprocal curve. Modified exponential. Then Gompertz curve or the logistic curve. So these are few forms of long-term trend. Means besides linear trend, these are the other forms. Linear trend is the first degree parabolic function, and other than that, there might be these type of long-term trends you will find in the variables. So the first thing is with the data, you have to select appropriate function, that which function is better for your particular data set. And with that particular function, you need explanation for those parameters or that particular phenomena, that why that thing is happening. This is about the forecasting. Means here the functions you have to first identify which function is appropriate. Generally in econometrics we study only few functional forms. That's a limitation, that more or less we are restricted to linear case. Means that's the thing we do, but in actual scenario that's not a situation, because we don't know what will be the situation in the actual data, right? It might be this particular case modified exponential, or it might be a Gompertz curve, it might be a logistic curve. That depends upon the data scenario. Like in the population, I have shown you this particular, might be this particular situation, Gompertz curve is for the life cycle, it's a better picture. It might be this particular reciprocal curve, means it depends upon the situation. Then might be a second degree curve. So it might be any of these. So first thing is that select the appropriate function that we do, and after that function, then the next secondary thing is estimate the parameters like we did in the regression. And after estimating the parameters, the theoretical justification for that model. That's important thing. So this might be a case. I hope it's clear that long-term trends. So let's come to a few calculations for long-term trend. Okay, now before starting measures for these trends, for these four components, seasonal, cyclical, irregular, and trend. In time series, we study methods based upon these four components. For cyclical fluctuation, we have a separate method. For seasonal fluctuation, we have a separate method. For trend, we have a separate methods. And irregular is something left out part. There is no any particular technique which give forecasting about, because irregular is something unknown, sudden thing. You can't forecast that thing, right? So that's the left out part kind of thing. But before doing that, whatever raw data you have, first thing you need to know is that, is it a addition of all these components, or is it a multiplication of all these components? Means whatever raw data you have, like for example, we have this particular this data, is these changes are in additive form or in the multiplicative form. Additive form is that they are separate means you can separate this. They are independent kind of thing, like we studied in the probability, this mutually exclusive, where we applied the additive theorem. Is it that particular scenario? Or they are in the multiplicative form, means they are linked with one with the another. Based upon these theorems, you have to apply measures. Means first you have to think about it. Is it a case of additive model, or is it a case of multiplicative model? Although as far as my knowledge from the economic background, maximum time we apply multiplicative model, but it means that these are not independent from each other, they are working jointly. So if you think like that, means if that's the nature of your data, then we have to go by this multiplicative model. This might we can take as a homework, that how we can get this idea. Is it a multiplicative case or additive? There are a few things from which you can get idea. But generally in economics, you will find that more or less you are applying multiplicative models. So first thing is we have to predict about the trend. So let's start with the trend. Now trend is about long term. It's not about the short term. Let's suppose you have some short term data. Like in this NSE case, let's suppose you have a 1 year data or 2 or 3 year data. Then you can't apply the trend. Trend is not about the short run fluctuations. No, trend is something about the long term scenario. Like if you're taking growth rate, then it's not a 2 or 3 year growth rate and you can say the long term trend. No, it might be 20, 30 years at least, so that you can say, okay, this is the long term trend of the growth. Why is the raw data? Like in this, I'll show this by your data, the data sheet I shared with you. For example, I'll take this variable close value. Here you have 4 different values in your data. At that particular day, opening value of this index, high of that particular day, low of that particular day, and closing. Let's suppose this is my variable closing. I want to forecast this close variable. So this is your Y, raw data. This particular raw data consists these 4 characters. Trend, if it's a long-term data. There are seasonal fluctuations, there are cyclical fluctuations, and irregular fluctuations. Means the changes which are in this particular raw data, this Y variable you have, it consists all these 4 characters or components of the time series. Now our job is to forecast or identify these 4 components one by one. That's about the forecasting. These are our actual values. Let's see this Y case, that I'll draw the graph for this. Okay, let's suppose this is the row graph. So this is your Y, means this is our variable here, close variable. Close here is means the closing price of that particular day. This is the data of NSE Nifty for the last 20 years, from 2001 January to 2000 January to 2020 October. No, won't be repetition because this. Okay, we have this doubt. See this particular diagram. This particular time. The changes means if you see this trend is something upward. Within a trend, there are cyclical. Within a cyclical, there are seasonal. So if you add all these, but before adding, it's you have to think about it. Is it you're going to apply the additive model? And if it's a case of joint mean intersection case of the components, we can't add. Then it's a duplication. But if you're sure that it's a additive case, that these are the separate from each other, then if you add, then by adding all these, you will get this actual raw data. And this raw data consists all these components. Like here we have this y, the whatever raw data, it consists all these components. Means the changes in y are because of trend, season, cyclical, or irregular. If you think they are working jointly, then you have to go by multiplicative model. If you think they are independent, then you have to go by the additive model. So first thing about the model, let's suppose I am taking case of this multiplicative case. So if I multiply all this, it's not that it's a duplication. No, within this data, these fluctuations are because of these 4 characters. This is how we divide this time series data. Variation in the time series data, we divide in these 4 different scenarios: trend, seasonal, cyclical, and irregular. I hope, Lavanya, it's clear that it's not a repetition. You still have a doubt? We'll get components, we will get what proportion is explaining the raw data. Yes, you're right. So let's suppose this is our raw data. Now, first question is why forecasting? Why need it? I mean, why we have to do it first place study with the time series or something? If I take this real example, let's suppose I want to invest in Nifty index. I want to invest my money. So before investing, I have to see means what will be let, and then another thing, time period. Let's suppose I want to invest for next 5 years. So before doing that, it's important for me to understand that what will be expected price after 5 years. Then only I can do calculations of returns, and then only I can take decision. The alternatives I have, I can take this fixed deposit option. I might invest in mutual funds, or maybe any other investment scheme I can invest. So before that, first I have to take calculations. Let's suppose in fixed deposit, that's clear. Let's suppose 6% is the rate of interest. So I know how much I will receive after 5 years. But in case of this Nifty or the stock market, there is not certainty, right? Means no one say that, okay, you will get this price. So before doing that, first I have to calculate. Now, why I'm taking it as alternative? Because we know generally it's the thing that this stock markets give higher returns as compared to other investment options. So let's suppose I know this thing and I know the risk factor associated with this investment. So first I want to calculate that how much after 5 years I'll receive. For that, I need this forecasting. But if I'll go simply with the trend thing, then the first thing is, okay, make it simple. First, I want to see the trend. So I'll come later on for the seasonal and cyclical, that what are the thing and why we need to worry about the cyclical, seasonal, and irregular fluctuations. For simplicity, let's suppose I want to know the trend of this particular data, that after 5 years, what can I expect from this particular Nifty index? So the first thing, as I told you, you have to identify the nature of this trend. Is it a secular trend? It's linear trend. It might be a curve, concave, convex, or any other non-linear function that I gave you the examples. Any of these, or maybe any other function. I mean, this is just simple examples. So first thing is that you have to identify that which your data is looking like which one of these. That's the first thing. Then only you can go to the model, this OLS regression analysis. So let's suppose in this particular case, by just looking this graphical, I have this notion that it is a linear trend, that on an average year after year, this particular constant increase is there in the Nifty price. So let's go by linear trend technique. So for linear trend, you have to apply OLS method, like this particular case. The only now the change is, earlier we have another independent variable, like we did this last time. We did this example of divorce as the dependent variable and urban population as independent variable. Here the change is independent variable is time. This x variable is time, and y whatever data you have. Like now in from this particular row data, I want to see this particular trend for close. You can go by any option, means let's suppose I'm taking the close option. You can go by high of these days, open, low. Let's suppose from theoretical framework that I know the close is much better to forecast about these outcomes on the investment. Let's suppose I know this, means this is my y variable. Now my x variable is time. Here we have this date one time variable. This is my independent variable. So from graphical, I know this trend. There is a long-term trend, but first I have to identify that trend, and for that I need some technique, some measure or method. Let's suppose I am satisfied with the linear trend, that this particular trend is type of linear trend. Then I have to apply technique or method which is associated with linear trend. And as last time we did OLS, ordinary least square method, that's about the linear trend. When you have this linearity, then you can apply OLS methods. Any doubts so far? Otherwise, I'll do it in Stata now. Now, my dependent and independent is clear. Non-linear, then it's the thing is like in basic econometries, I try to do few things about non-linear. Like we have in Gujarati one chapter for non-linear, and in the Woolridge also. So I try to give examples from those methods. And if your data is, means the real forecasting is truly different. Like if you are working in one this multinational company in Gurgaon or Bangalore or something, then you can realize this importance of the non-linear. Then it's not like we can try this 2 and 3, no. Then it's a hit and trial, one function after another, one function after another, and the methods we need about developed methods we need about that. And there are I know a few firms, those no, they are not only depend upon these softwares, they design their own algorithms about these mathematical functions, and they put these values and they estimate the parameters. Means now this thing is forecasting reached up to this but that particular level. Although in our academics That's one thing I was telling you few days back, that this forecasting and all these investors, they are not something like our research, like literature. Is that's not the way they work. They practically they have the data, they have the softwares, they know the languages of the softwares, they make the algorithms, and there they try their mathematical modeling and mathematical function knowledge they try. And that's why these they are so much high packages for them. Is they are earning easily 45 lakh 50 lakh, means their packages are so high, because this investment thing is, we can know it's a commercial value, it's too high. So non-linear generally we don't have this in our simple academic literature in economics. That's limitation I also have, means here in this particular econometric course I don't have too much content about the non-linear. And the truth is, hardly you are going to find the long-term linear trends. That might be a case, but it's not always be a case. So for non-linear, we need few other methods. In these, so far what I have studied is Gujarati, Woolridge and all. There are few examples there, but that's not always going to be fit. So one thing you have to do, either you have to make your data linear. For example, log. When we take a log, then many times we found that you will get some linear trend because of the log. What log will do, it reduce the variation in the data. That might be one solution, that you can take a log. That's the one reason that in many situations you will find that people take logs of the variables and then they apply this OLS techniques, means because that might be a situation that their data is not linear, so they are trying to make it linear. So then either you have to make the linear trend, or you need to know more about more techniques and other techniques which forecast or work with non-linear type of data. So that limitation, like in OLS, we have this limitation and assumptions. Parameters needs to be linear, right? These our parameters need to be a linear. Means we have this limitation of OLS technique, the assumption we take. So these are the assumptions of the techniques. So far in econometrics, we know we work with MLE technique, maximum likelihood estimation, that we use in logistic and all functions, and we use OLS when we have a linear case. So this is the limitation of the subject, that we so far we don't have functions or econometric techniques for all kind of function. It's still developing subject. Maybe so what I have studied, maybe there are few other new methods already there in the domain, and I am not aware of that, because in India we know that whatever we study in masters and MPhil, we stick to them for next coming 30-40 years. It's not a consistent development in the subject. So for non-linear, I can say you can find this log solution is there, or if that's not working, then you need some another technique which work with the non-linear. Or if you don't have any technique, then the thing is you have to skip the method. Is then it's not that you can apply OLS on the non-linear trend. And that's the limitation that also we study in our courses, that if you don't have this, if your assumptions are not fulfilling, then you can't apply this econometrics techniques. I mean, it's not necessary always that you have to apply, because if there is a limitation, then you don't have any option, right? Either you find some solution, means maybe mathematicians, statisticians are developing new functions and new econometric techniques that you have to study, or if it's not in the domain, then you have to stop yourself applying that particular. That's the case with non-linear. That's the reason, Divya, we always maximum we study the linear case, right? But it's not the true data is not always going to be a linear trend. Okay, so if you are going by this linearity thing, that you know the trend is linear, or you can search this, means as I told you, I have my limitations. You can search through internet and try to find solutions for non-linear cases. Log I am telling, but there besides log there might be another solution. So dependent variable in this particular case is loss, that's my y variable. Independent is the time. this date 1 and okay. So these are the results. So before getting anything from this parameter significance or all, let's cross check it with the graph that how this line is fitting for this particular trend. The command is scatter, then dependent variable, independent variable. This date 1, I made this particular variable for this date variable. Here you have date. Stata, you might find this difficult task. Dates are generally non-numeric characters, string variables. And it's not easy in Stata to destring these variables and start working. So before doing that, you have to adjust these date variables. If there are a few changes in the data set you have to do with the date variable, then only you can work with this date, especially date, because it's non-numeric characters. So I did it. I made it changes in this date variable so that you can use for this analysis. Scatter, close, dependent, independent, then C. Oh, sorry. First, we need y hat because this trend line is about the y hat. So first predict y hat, then scatter y hat, close, date 1, comma C, bracket start, space, dot, bracket close, S, bracket start, I, space, O, bracket close. Let's see. Okay, so this is the case. Now we have this linear trend, means this trend we put this trend. Okay, first it's not the that this is might be a real case. No, we thought like this, that okay, this is a linear trend case in the long run, so we can use this particular OLS technique for to estimate this linear trend, and we applied this method. So here is the limitation. Like I told you, the long term trend is not always going to be linear, right? So first thing is which equation we have to take. Like here in this particular case, we are taking this particular equation. But as I shown, give you the example for the long term, it's not always be the case, right? So it might be any other case. So first you have to think about that. And these cases you can apply with the OLS. This is not a limitation with these, like this logarithmic curve you can try, reciprocal you can try. Here the parameters in these function where parameters are linear, you can apply OLS like this. Divya, yeah, Divya, this is one thing you can try. Like this logarithmic curve is applicable with OLS because the only limitation is with the parameters, and parameters are linear here. Reciprocal is also fine with the OLS. Modified exponential, also no problem with this particular method. Only you would face a difficulty with the logistic curve. Here parameters are non-linear, so you can't apply OLS method. And in this third degree curve, here again you can apply OLS. And the second degree curve also you can apply OLS. So here in these cases, you can apply OLS. There is no problem in these functions. So far your parameters are linear in nature, you can apply OLS. So even with the non-linear functions, there are many functions where OLS technique will work. So you can try that. I hope now it's showing this. Now I'm on this data. So with the graph, now we try to find a long-term trend. and the result is like this particular line we got. Lag was there. No. Just remember these other non-linear equations that I gave example to Lavanya. Logistic curve, exponential curve, modified exponential curve, Gompertz curve, second degree parabolic curve, third degree parabolic curve. In all the functions where your parameters are linear, you can apply OLS technique. Only the limitation is with the logistic function. In the logistic function, parameters are non-linear, so we can't apply OLS. That's why in logistic functions we apply MLE, maximum likelihood estimations. So, but that's the only solution. MLE is about this logistic means MLE is the another solution. Let's suppose we don't have this MLE solution, then there is no technique to apply the logistic function, right? That's what I'm saying, that the subject is in a developing stage. So right now we have for the non-linear one technique, we have a MLE. So like in the logistic functions, we apply MLE method. And in all other cases where your parameters are linear, you can go with the OLS. So even it's a non-linear case, you can try the OLS thing. But there are few assumptions of the OLS that we have to take care of, because there might be another problem that in this parabolic trend, there might be a chance of the perfect multicollinearity. So that's another limitation of OLS. So that we will deal in detail one by one in the part 3. But important thing so far is just to understand the role of functions, that which function you have to try. And for that function, you need econometric technique to estimate the parameters. So far, OLS and MLE generally we apply. There might be a new techniques which might be, I'm not aware of that. But so far, whatever I study, that's OLS and MLE techniques. Now this trend is clear. Now after this trend, means this trend we got after estimating this linear equation, and we assume that there is a linear trend. Now what is the risk associated with this trend? Let's suppose the earlier example I was giving. Let's suppose that I estimated that, let's suppose I am taking a decision in 2005, or okay, move it further. Let's suppose I am taking decision in 2015. Just take a case of 2015. And I was worried about the next 5 years, that how much return I'll receive in 2020 July or something. Based upon this long-term trend, our forecast was nearby here, right? It might be nearby here. And then we invested. But let's suppose due to just this irregular component, sudden jump was there, and when this was happening, means here I am giving you hypothetical, but when it will be real, then you can understand this pain. Based upon your previous forecast, you have estimated that in 2020 you might get this price nearby 11,000 or 12,000, and 2015 you invested, at that time price was nearby 8,000. So you expected that after 4 years this price will increase by 4,000 per share. So it depends on how much you have invested. Let's suppose you bought 100 shares, so you thought that 4,000 multiplied by 100, your profit will be after 5 years approximately 4 lakh rupees. Now when this particular price due to irregular component reached to a 7,000, let's suppose you invested at a 8,000 and it's in the 7,000 figure, then what will be your actual position? The actual position is that you are in, not even in the profit, but in the loss, that you have this 100 shares and 7,000 is the price, you bought it at 8,000. So the actual, this loss figure is around 1 lakh rupees. Based upon this long trend you have invested, and you expected this price might be nearby 12,000. but the actual scenario might be that the price is 7,000. Now the pain you are taking at that, right? This has happened actually with the many individuals. Like I don't know how many thousand figures they lost in this particular corona, in this stock market crash, but it happened, and this happens very frequently in the stock market. This is the phenomena of the stock market. So this is the importance of forecasting. If at that particular time you are in the loss and you get fear and you are out of the market with the 1 lakh loss, and later on it's nearby this 11,000, but at that time you don't know, right, that is it going back to this particular level or not, because that was just irregular component, and the crash is there, and that particular time the fear factor that this bear and bull markets, in bear markets this fear factor is much more as compared to the positive sides, so that can happen. So the risk here with your forecasting is that are you able to stick with that and take decision or not? So that's why the accuracy is important here. And by chance, if it's nearby that, then it's okay that you applied a better technique to forecast, and whatever you expected in 2015, now you are receiving as a return in 2020. So that's a good picture for you, and you rely on your forecasted techniques. So that's why this forecasting, and it depends upon the method you had select. I hope this is clear. That here I just assume that this is a long-term linear trend, but that might not be the case. So this is if you are assuming that it's a linear trend, then you can just go by this OLS technique, simple OLS technique. Is it clear? Any doubt so far? This cross-sectional and time series these two analyses are totally different. Means in time series the risk factor is much more as compared to the cross-sectional, although both are equally important, but when it comes to forecasting, many things are at stake, so decision needs, and it's not always the case that we forecast with this much accuracy. It's not the case. It might be the other case, but to take a decision, we have to rely upon these techniques. Any doubt so far? What can go wrong? Don't use a linear trend model to describe a non-linear trend. That's the case I'm explaining. Don't use a trend model for short-term forecasting. This trend is about the long term. It's not the short term. Don't use moving average, exponential, smoothing, autoregressive models for long-term forecasting. Those techniques are not about the long term. Don't ignore autocorrelation if it's present. That I'll take in detail in the econometrics. But I hope these points are clear, that what is trend, what are the components of time series, then what are the risk factors associated about these forecasting, why forecasting is important, why this time variable is important, why we study this time series, and when we take this independent variable as a time, so how we trying to measure trend with the OLS. This was the only thing we did today, and I just gave you a few examples where forecasting is working, this machine learning and all. Any doubt so far?